turn down service. Like I had her jammies on the bed.
Like a chocolate on my pillow.
Hold it back perfectly.
I was so spoiled. I loved it.
Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Dylan Callier. I'm a physical therapist and welcome to the New Medical Nomads podcast, where I get to document my journey as a medical traveler, as well as interview other experts within the traveling field. Now, the rules for the traveling game are constantly changing, so anything you hear on this show should be for entertainment purposes only. This is not legal, financial, or medical advice. Enjoy the show and safe travels. Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the New Medical Nomads podcast. Today I am with Kim and Erran Gipson. I got to meet them at a travel conference and I'm super excited to have them on the show today. They have their own YouTube channel. But Kim and Erran, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, what your careers are, and also how you got into traveling?
Yeah, sure. I'll start again. Okay. So I'm a stenographer and
I do interventional radiology.
And so we started traveling 5 years ago, and we started travel. Well, I'll let you say why we started traveling. I'm going to get into that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So we were newly married. We worked at the same facility. We've been doing it for about 5 years, right? Yeah, yep. 5 years. And it was kind of one of those things where I only had 4 days off a month. We had bought this new house. We were living way outside of our means. We just were like glued to this house because we had to work so much. And then it was actually it became like I couldn't even take off. And she had to take so much call just to afford the things that we did. And we sat down one time outside and it had been a crazy call weekend. And we're like, what are we doing? Where are we going? What do we want with our lives? And we realized that where we were living, what we were living and how we were living was not how we wanted to live anymore. And so we had no clue what we were going to do, no idea, but we set like kind of 5 things that has really registered with us and it's kind of carried us along. Is we wanted freedom. We wanted to work less and make more money, obviously. We wanted to travel. Kim used to say when we couldn't even take a week off, she would be like, I just want to backpack the world for a year. And I'm like, we can't even do it for a weekend. Like, how can we do it for a year? We wanted to explore passions. We knew that interventional radiology and ultrasound was a cool thing. But it wasn't something that we wanted to do, far on down the road. We wanted to see what else was out there. And again, we just kind of left it at that. And we're like, show us the way, we're open to so many different possibilities, but we have no clue where to begin. And so then it was like.
So the funny story is I never used to take call on the weekend. Like Saturdays, I never took call. That was the one day that I'm like, this is my day off. And for some reason, I had to take call that day. And I volunteered for it. I don't remember the reason, but it was really rare. And so we're sitting outside, and I get called in. And
instant explosion.
Right. I was so angry. Because it was called, so it was like somebody was actually working. And so you would only get called in if it was really busy, and they needed a backup to come in. Yeah. So it was rare to get called in anyways. So my pager goes off and I'm so mad. I'm like, oh, like this sucks. And I'm like racing to work and just want to get in and out. And I walk in and a girl that I used to work with way back in the day that I haven't seen in years was a PRN at the hospital I was working at. And she happened to be working that day, which is so random. I hadn't seen her in years. And I walked in and she was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like they ended up canceling a bunch of stuff and I'm all caught up. I don't even need you and we're good. But now that you're here, like, how are you? Like we started like catching up on life. And she was like, my husband and I are going to start traveling. And I'm like, what the heck is that? Like, what do you mean? And tell me all about it. So she told me everything. And I was like, this sounds insane. Like, this sounds like the best thing I've ever heard in my life. And I was like, all right, I'm out of here. I'm going to go home, talk to my husband.
Weren't you scared that I wasn't going to be on?
Oh, yeah. So I'm riding home and I'm like, is he going to think I'm like crazy? sell everything and like, let's start traveling and like, let's take on the world. And what is he going to think? And, but I get home and we sit outside. I'm like, dude, I have to tell you like this crazy story. And I told him and he was like, God, like, let's do it. And that was, I mean, a month later, like we put our house up for sale. We put in our 2-week notice. Our house sold really quickly. We sold everything
we owned.
And started traveling. Like it just happened so fast. We were just like, done. This is it. And,
but it was cool because when she came home and told me, it basically fit all 5 of those things that we had said. And that was like divine intervention. It was just kind of that, like, here's your path that you asked for.
Yeah. Just
walk through the door. And it was just kind of that goosebump chicken skin kind of moment of just like I just couldn't believe it. Like it just, here's the reset button that we needed. We have no clue what we're getting into, but we're excited and let's just do it. And so that's how it all started.
Best decision we ever made.
Best decision.
I heard a little bit of that story at the travel conference because you guys were doing the travel talk. And I remember a part where you guys like sat down and you ordered a pizza.
Oh.
Can you tell a little bit of about that story?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's one of my favorites. So Kim and I love pizza. It's kind of
like our thing, our treat.
Yeah. So Friday nights we used to come home and be like, let's order a pizza and watch a movie. And because we were so we worked so much that was pretty much it. So we basically, we had gotten paid that day. And so it's paycheck days. We're like, cool, let's order pizza. We can splurge. We ordered the pizza. And something in me just triggered, and I went and looked, and we had already overdrawn our account ordering that pizza. And it was crazy to me that we worked so much. I only had 4 days off a month. We both have amazing careers that pay amazingly. And I said amazing a lot. And driving that home. And I overdrew our account. We overdrew our account on a pizza. And then the overdraft fee was more than the actual pizza itself. Yeah. And that was just kind of that wake up call of like, what are we doing? What are we doing? And this has to change. We can't live like this anymore. So
it was one of those defining moments where we were just like, this is not how we want to live. Like this is not the life that we're showing up for. Like we have just gotten ourselves into this kind of hole, and like we got to make some real changes
and that's a scary thing too. It's like you can't afford pizza, but yet you want to travel and you want to explore your passions and you want to take time off, but yet you can't do it. Yeah. And that's a very scary feeling. And then that's why when I said when Kim came home with this travel idea, I had no idea. I was like, is this even real? You know?
Yeah, that's great. I remember that story specifically, and I like that story. How long have you guys been traveling at this point?
5 years now.
Yeah, since 2012. We rolled out August 29th of 2012. I'll never forget it.
Yep.
Okay. One day before my birthday.
Oh, nice. He's the 11th.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Leo's. Yeah. You made this choice to go into the minimalist lifestyle. How did that lead into your guys' YouTube channel?
Yeah, so we kind of became minimalist by default, right? Because we decided to travel and we had this huge house filled with stuff, right? I mean,
nice stuff.
So much stuff. And we were like, if we want to travel and have freedom and have time off and do all these things, like we can't lug this baggage with us all over the United States. So we naturally were like, we got to get rid of everything. So we literally got rid of almost everything. We have a couple of suitcases and like kitchen stuff and like the very like basic necessities. And so we got rid of everything, and that.
Well, not everything. Because remember, like our first when we lugged everything around, we did really well.
Yeah, it was a process. At first, we started with a lot more stuff, and then we kind of, as we began traveling, we realized we didn't need that much, and so we slowly like got rid of stuff, and now we only have like a couple of suitcases, and so it gave us so much freedom that we were like, wow, like we've saved a lot of money, like we've worked hard, we've paid off all of our debts and our bills. We could take some time off, like we could actually go and backpack and travel the world and kind of have these adventures that we had always fantasized and dreamed about. And so we're like, let's do it. And in last year in January, we decided to we weren't sure how long we were going to be gone. It ended up being like almost 6 months.
I was gonna say it started in August, and it was really cool because Kim's like, we've done so much work and we've gotten ourselves to this point that if I land a contract, then that's just the extra push we need, and we're good. Like, we're fantastic.
Oh, and like fund the trip.
And sure enough, like, she lands this contract and she sits down on a Monday night right after my birthday and was just like, we can basically take off for as long as we want.
I have like a whole presentation. A board with like different pictures and like an itinerary, like and a glass of wine.
Yes.
To like
Lots of wine.
Let's just chill and have a glass of wine. Then she's like, so, and I'm like, oh boy, here we go. Yeah, I mean, it was a full-on presentation.
It was
fantastic.
But he was on board, and so we're like, dude, we're gonna go on this crazy adventure. Like, we traveled all around Southeast Asia. Let's document it. Let's start this channel so that we can create these videos to share with our friends and our family. And we kind of wanted to also take what we were learning and experiencing and use it as a way to help other travelers who may want to go to Bali or go here, kind of like where to go eat, where to go hike, and, you know, just to kind of use it as like informative as well. And so we started this YouTube channel to make these videos.
It really started as just a way for our family and friends to watch our journeys. And then I had always had a side passion of editing, but it wasn't like a major thing. And so
you used to make video, like slideshows.
I used to make slideshows, and then I used to do Christmas parties at the department where I'd do videos and like all these things. And I got to team up with a professional editor one time, and he taught me everything he knew. And so then it just kind of like rolled into that. And so I was like, let's do it. And then one video started getting a lot of likes and a lot of hits and a lot of things like that. And it was this random video in Kuala Lumpur that we did. And we were like, wow, like, people are really responding to this. So then we were like, well, let's go for it. So we did a little bit more research. And it's just a fun side project that we do. And we love it so much. And I love, now we have a drone.
We're going to go big on the next trip with the drone.
Yeah. It just became so much fun to do. And that's just staying in that joy space of anything you do. If it brings you joy, just got to keep rolling with it. And whatever the outcome is, you know, it's just fun for us. So
Well, and we literally the other night had a glass of wine and binge watched all of our travel YouTube videos.
Like, we're so cool.
What a good reflection. Yeah.
It's cool because we have that for us too. And we're like, wow, what a cool adventure we got to go on. So it's really cool.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
Speaking of, so I'm going to nerd out a little bit, and I want to talk about the drone. When you were kind of making that choice of getting it, how's your usual kind of like questions that you ask lining up? Because I know you guys are big on minimalism, and purchasing a drone is kind of like this extra thing that you're carrying around. So how did you make that choice? And then how cool is it to fly around?
Oh my God. I'll take the first part.
You take the first part, because I'm already getting ready to go.
We haven't taken her up in San Diego, but we'll probably go out
soon.
But we always ask ourselves before we bring anything into our life, is it going to add value, right? So is this going to serve a purpose? Because we don't want to just bring in a bunch of nonsense that's just going to take up space and clutter in our life, physically, emotionally, the whole thing. Like, we want to be as free as possible in all areas of life. So we ask ourselves, like, is this really going to add value? And like, it really is, like, because it's something we're so passionate about and it's fun for us and it's going to take our videos to another level. And we're like, absolutely, this is serving such a beautiful purpose, and it's little and cute. So we're like, let's do it.
It is the minimalist drone. I did a lot of research because, again, I learned from her, and I created a presentation on why this is going to add value and why we need this.
True story.
And everything like that. And so I had looked at, again, geeking out, there's like the Phantom 4 and there's all these different brands. And the Phantom 4 was big and bulky and doesn't fold up. But I noticed the DJI that I bought folds up and fits in the palm of my hand. And then all the little components are so small. And so I did notice from a YouTube traveler, he had a DJI Mavic, and he also had this backpack. And it fits everything. And so we always have our computers, and our hard drives and all that stuff. And so it fits everything into that backpack, and it just loads like a hiking backpack.
It's like a turtle shell.
It's like a turtle shell. It's waterproof. I mean, it's absolutely fabulous. I've gone through the airport so many times and opened it up, and even them, the guys, the TSA is just like, holy cow, this is amazing. So
and it's really, like all organized and everything has its little place, which I love.
It fits in a closet, and you know, we just made the first journey to San Diego. Had to fit everything into the Camry, which we did, and it fit nice down on the floor, and you know, it was ready to go. So we have our cameras, our drone, and everything like that.
Got it.
But on your question about flying the drone, I shake the whole time. This thing is it's crazy that they put this much technology into the hands of just anybody, because basically if I lose signal, it'll land where I took off from. It just knows everything. It records everything. But still, it's like you want to get those epic shots. And, you know, I'm flying into waterfalls and stuff like that. So then I'm like, is there an updraft? Is there all these things? I'm going to crash it. And that's what you're scared of, because it does cost a lot.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm going to lose my drone. I found out there's insurance things that you can get, and that takes the fear away.
Yeah.
And then it's just really wondering, you know, in the United States, it's been a little bit tough because of all the flight areas.
Yeah.
Restricted zones and stuff like that. And they're starting to crack down. I know Canada's really cracked down on drones.
Got it. Okay.
Stuff like that. So it's doing your research, but it is the most fun thing ever. I actually used it in, just real quick, they were having an issue at our last apartment complex that we stayed at, and police were there, and there was some wood back in the woods. They wanted, you know, there's some activity going on, and so I was like, I have a drone, and they're like, are you serious? So I went and got it, and I was flying the drone over the woods to see what was going on, and the police, the SWAT team was there, and they were looking at my camera to see what like was going on back there. I was like, dude, this is awesome.
Those are how action movies start.
Yeah.
You were talking about that backpack. Do you know the brand of it?
Oh my gosh.
We can put it in the notes.
I can put it in
for sure. I'll get it from you guys and I'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah,
no, it's incredible. I could dip out if Kim gets on a rant on something. I can show it on the video.
Yeah, I'll just get it later. Not a big deal. Going back just a little bit, when you guys were selling all this stuff in your home, is there like one or two things that you had a really hard time of letting go of?
For me personally, in the beginning, it was really like my clothes and my shoes, because I had a huge walk-in closet that was just mine, and I had tons of shoes and jewelry and nice clothes, and it was something that I really valued, but I also knew that I had put so much value on it that it was like meaning on it, that I was like holding on to all this stuff, and a lot of the stuff I hadn't even worn in so long, and so
still had tags on it.
Yeah, and I knew like I can't take all of this with me. I could, but that means I'm going to be lugging around 5 suitcases, and that's not what I want. I want to be more free from this life. So going through and getting rid of a lot of my clothes and shoes and stuff was challenging, but once I got into it, it felt so good. And now we have one closet, and it's split evenly down the middle. And I have my half, and Erran has his, and we've done that now for like 5 years.
Wow.
And I think with that, it's like really, really tapping into your why on everything. And that was a huge thing. And so when things did get tough, I remember our family came in and started picking through all of our stuff. And I went into like an almost emotional breakdown of like, we don't even know if this travel thing's going to work out, and you guys have already pegged us for dead. And it's like all of our stuff. And we went out into the garage, and Kim, I was kind of like deep breathing, like, it's okay. And she said, you know, we really have to connect to our why. And if we want to travel the world and just go, and somebody we meet along the way says, hey, there's an opportunity for you to do this, we didn't want all that stuff to hold us back. And so when you really connect to that why, it's a lot easier to step out of that and let the meaning of those things that hold you back go. Yeah. And that's kind of what brought us forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
Got it.
I have no attachment to anything. You're more so than I am. I'm just like, no, get rid of it. Like, we don't need it. We don't like nothing. And it's so nice. It's such an easier way to live, you know? And so.
Absolutely. Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. We've kind of hit on it a little bit at a time so far, but is there anything you wanted to say with how traveling has impacted your guys' relationship?
Yeah.
You want to take it?
I mean, honestly, like, obviously it's brought us a lot closer in so many ways because we're this team, you know, and it's just the two of us, and we're going into all of these unknown areas and new places and new environments and having these incredible adventures, really. But it's us, and we're kind of just always going through it together, which is amazing, and it's brought us so much closer. And I mean, naturally, like, we are best friends. Like, we always have been. We started as best friends before we started dating, and we just have so much fun together. So that's never really been an issue. On the flip side of it, though, it's very, like, we're used to living in these tiny, like, small little apartments, and there's not a whole lot of separation. And so we've had to really learn to be more communicative with each other of, like, hey, I need a little bit of space. I need a little alone time. I need, like, to take a breather. And kind of learning to separate ourselves also because we don't have family around. We don't always meet friends right away. So it's like, it's just us. So we have to kind of also learn to, like, do our own thing as well.
And that's been a lot of, because she was more or less like, I need my time. I was, you know, wake up in the morning,
I'm like,
hey, what's up?
Yeah.
Like, now, because we spend so much time and stuff like that, I've actually realized that, you know, what she's doing is very beneficial to me as well. And having that alone time and having that time to process a lot of this stuff, going into new contracts, you're always flooded with so much, you know, going on. It's new, there's change. And to be able to sit and process that on your own and not just be constantly, like, you know, with somebody like that, it is really beneficial.
Yeah.
And it's really helped. And it's been so much fun to, I think the biggest thing too is we both understand each other. You know, it's not like I'm working some hard construction job outside and she comes home and she's like, I had a bad day. And I'm just like, what do you know about a bad day? Like, you know, we really understand each other and we understand that first day jitters and those things, that progression. And so we can have these really good conversations that really elevate each other, and she can see it from a different point of view and really help me with that. So that's where it's been really helpful as a couple to take on this travel journey together.
Got it. What's maybe one really surprising thing on both sides that has been very impactful on a positive side for the relationship with travel? And then what's been one surprising, like, kind of con to travel with you guys?
As a couple, or?
Yeah.
As a couple, or just in general?
Do you want to do the con one? Well, okay, I'll say that it can be as close as we are and how we love hanging out with one another. As a couple, sometimes it's harder to meet people. I think it's easier to meet people sometimes when you are solo because you're more approachable and you kind of get out more. Like, if somebody at work is like, hey, you want to go grab dinner tonight? You're going to be more like, yeah, let's do it. Instead, sometimes, you know, it'll be like, oh, well, Erran and I are going to go to the gym, or we've got something going on. And so you're not as open, I think, to maybe experiencing new relationships because you kind of have each other. And so that's something that we're really working on now, is to be more open to, and we've met great people everywhere we've gone, but, like, really, you know, being more like, yes, let's do this, let's meet this person, putting ourselves out more so that we can create more of a community, because sometimes you can just get lost in your couple bubble because we do everything together. So finding our own, you know.
And I think, I mean, a pro is basically right on that. Like, you're going to a new city, and instead of feeling those nerves, I get excited about, what are we doing this weekend?
Yeah.
And where are we going? And she's a huge research freak when it comes down to, like, finding the best things to do and all these things. And so I usually come home on Wednesday and she's already planning for Saturday. Like, we're going to wake up, we're going to work out, we're going to do this, and then we're going to hit the road. And, like, so that's a lot of fun because you have a buddy. And especially with our relationship and how much we love hanging out with each other and stuff like that, it just really elevates the area. So we've experienced, I mean, we always hear this is a common thing. Like, our Uber drivers and Lyft drivers and stuff, when we go out, they're like, even people at work, they're like, we've lived here 15 years and you guys have done more in 2 weekends than we've ever done. And we've lived and that's owed to her, basically. But, you know, it's just, that's the cool part about traveling with, you know, a couple, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, best friend.
You get to, like, experience all these new things together and have adventures. And, like, we've lived in some of the coolest places in our country. And, like, we get there and we get to just go out and have all these crazy adventures together. And so it's really fun, and you learn so much, along the way and grow. And
absolutely, as individuals and as a couple as well. And that's what's really cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. You mentioned kind of getting up and working out, and I know you guys are pretty big fitness fanatics. How does that work with your contracts? Do you find a gym nearby? Do you just do workouts at home? What does that look like?
Yeah.
It's actually a little bit of both. But the first priority, number one, even before we even start looking at a house, we start looking at, or apartment, what gyms are close, what options do we have? Because not only do we find that we've met a lot of people at the gym, like-minded people that you just end up talking to, it is a must for us. We just can't show up to our contracts, our best selves if we're, feeling lethargic and just crappy and stuff like that. And so that is a must. And so we really explore the area, and we found for instance, a rush cycle, which is almost like a soul cycle kind of thing. Yeah. And it is, right up the street. And so it does come into play a lot with how can we do this? And we found out that working out at 5:45 in the morning works, because I go into work at 8, 7:30, around that time, 9:30, and so it fits. And so that's kind of
so for us, working out in the morning is really important, because if we work out in the afternoon, a lot of times we'll blow it off for whatever reason.
The day gets ahead of you.
We find the gym, we work out in the morning. We also work out at home. We're personal trainers, which is another passion of ours. We love helping people get healthy, and we've done a lot of group workouts and circuits and stuff, which is really fun. And so we will set up circuits at our own house and just do our own workout if we're in a crunch, or and we run and anything to stay active, because it helps us feel our best. And so
we also found we do a lot of high intense workouts, because it's 30 minutes. You can put in a whole bunch of effort and you get the total burn, and then it's only 30 minutes, and then you're back, shower, ready to go. So you can do anything for 30 minutes. It's kind of one of those things. So that's kind of what we specialized in, and really try to help travelers with good.
And I just wanted to add too, we've met, everywhere we go, we've tried different gyms. So we've done CrossFit, we've done kettlebell gyms, we've done all these different
TRX
niche gyms that we're hey, we've never done this. This is a cool thing to this town. And so we've tried different things, and
very cool.
Cool people, and we've learned different ways to work out just from joining different styles of gyms. So it's a cool way just to meet people and stay.
Very cool. Since you guys are minimalists, is there one item or phone app, or really just anything that comes to mind that you guys purchased that you were I could not travel without this thing, that has really helped you along your 5 years of travel?
For me, my Vitamix, it's not an app, but
for both of us.
For both of us, yeah. But the Vitamix is our baby. We literally have lugged this thing everywhere. We almost brought it to Asia with us, but we're okay,
50 pounds.
It's a little much.
Oh wow.
We live on green smoothies. Every morning we have one, and so that's something that I will never part ways with. And it adds so much value to our life.
Funny, because even on the road, when you're in the hotels and you're kind of getting to your location, it's just easy to stop by a store real quick, grab what you need, make a smoothie. I mean, we do wake up the entire hotel, because that thing is industrial. So it's crazy. We can cover it with towels and stuff to try to keep it quiet. But and then Thrill List.
Thrill List is another great. It's not an app, but it's a website, and I go to it every city we move to. I go to it because it has so many cool places to eat or hike or have brunch. It breaks it up into different categories, and so that's where I get a lot of cool things to go check out in the area.
I mean, it's super specific.
Favorites.
If you want a rooftop bar for sunset, it gives you the top 10.
Wow. Okay.
It was giving me local slang for Seattle. It's they have this good morning thing if you can see Mount Rainier. It's kind of their thing, and so you kind of see what the local all these cool things that most people aren't gonna find and stuff like that.
And what's that called again?
It's Thrill List.
Thrill List. Okay.
Yeah. It's an awesome resource. It's really, really cool.
And I think on the minimalist thing, we noticed that cutting, we don't watch much TV, but we do have our shows that we like. I'm an ESPN fanatic. Kind of like my thing. It's how I kind of relax. I'll watch ESPN at night. But I bought one of those Google Chromecasts, and then my mom has cable, which is nice. And so I have her password, and you know.
But the Chromecast you can just plug into your TV, and you can take it with you, and so you can put YouTube videos up. You can put like anything from your computer. You can put up if you want.
Well, yeah. So
cool.
ESPN has an app, so I get to watch all my Florida State games and different things like that. And so it's nice to just have that cutoff and not just be hit with, you know, the contracts from cable and all these things.
Got it.
So the Chromecast is my baby.
When you guys got your Vitamix, does it come with like recipes and stuff in there? Basically, during my graduate years, there was a point where I didn't necessarily have the funds for a place to stay. So I ended up crashing on my friend's futon for the entire year. And then would go back home and work on the weekends. But every morning it was like ritual. They would get up, make banana smoothies. They would like pull it out of the freezer, and that was my alarm clock in the morning. So I'd hear these big old blenders going off, and we wouldn't say a word to each other until we like left the apartment. And so we'd walk out the door, and then we would talk to each other. But until then, it was just kind of just three guys wandering around. But they were big smoothie people, and they had like their own recipes. But I'd been interested in making my own, but I don't know the first thing.
Oh my God.
She is the smoothie queen.
It's like one of my passions. So much. Okay. And we created we have a website. No, like it's not that anymore. So
it's KimandErranG.com.
Yeah.
It is Get Fit From Within. So we did create this entire database of workouts, workout libraries, quick hit intensity workouts that you can do at home. But then
and it has healthy recipes and stuff. And I have this whole, it's like 30 plus green smoothies. So they're all green, they're healthy, but they're delicious. Just different recipes, and they're easy because, you know, you don't always want to go out and buy a bunch of ingredients all the time. So like easy things that you have in the house. But that is one of my, it's just amazing. I'm so proud of it.
And it was fun. She cut me loose to name them. So I did all these like crazy, like funny names to them, like nacho matcha smoothie. I mean, it's like things like that. But it's cool because as you can see, there is a little bit of a pattern with, you know, the smoothies are really quick. Our workouts are really quick. Things that you can do on the road and travel and stuff like that. Things that are
super easy.
And so we've kind of blended all that together.
I will say though, just as like my go-to for building a smoothie is that people get so crazy with fruit. They put so much fruit in it, and so it just becomes more of like a sugar bomb than an actual healthy smoothie. And so my rule of thumb is always you want to have like 3/4 of it. You want it to be green, like you want it spinach and kale and just like packed full of greens. Like the Vitamix is like this much milk and whatever, and then this much like green. And then we always just put a half of banana as fruit and then other stuff in it. But usually that's the only fruit because people get so crazy with it and you don't want to start your day.
We'll throw a little blueberry in there sometimes with the half of the banana.
Got it.
You don't want to start your day like on a sugar rush.
I mean, she has like pumpkin pie smoothies that are like, what's it called? The baked potato, the sweet potato. Like sweet potato and then like, you know, so good. So
Got it. Well, I'll definitely check those out then. Except the kale smoothies. I am convinced that kale is like the second worst tasting thing.
Oh my God. But once it's all blended up, you don't taste anything. That's like such a great way to kind of get into the greens because you really taste it. It tastes so good.
Especially with the other mixes that she throws in there. So
I don't know. I'm nervous.
Give it a try. Or start with spinach, baby stuff.
Yeah. All right. What is the biggest myth that you guys have found with traveling? I know with at least physical therapy, there's a lot of myths where like you want to wait a while before you do it coming straight out of school. And a lot of the guests I've had on the show say that's absolutely like, you don't have to wait. You can just do it straight out. But for sonographers and what you're doing, Erran, is there any myths out there that you'd like to kind of squash?
I think kind of exactly what you said, that we thought you do need to have some experience, of course, because you want to feel, I guess in our field anyways, you definitely want to have the fundamentals down. You want to be confident in your abilities to just have like the fundamentals down of scanning, of knowing your exams, of working with doctors, of being in the hospital. So you really want to have that down, like a year maybe. But I always thought that we waited 5 years, and I thought that you really had to know everything in order to start traveling. And I will say that I was a really great stenographer, and I thought I was like a badass. And then I started traveling, and I have learned more on the road. I have become such a better stenographer than I was when I was working in the hospital, because you're exposed to so many different ways of doing things, exams and doctors and teachers, and you absolutely, like, you don't know everything. You will learn so much on the road.
And that's
so much.
That's actually the biggest demise to travelers, is when they go in and they're like, I know it all. I have this down. And you realize, especially in interventional radiology, you know, we cover neuro, we cover cardiac, and body IR and all these different things. And like, even though I've done these same procedures and my scrubbing technique and all those things are just precise, and I'm really good at that, every facility is so different, and just the way they do things, and the physicians and the way they're trained across the country, like, you're doing the same thing, but so many different ways. And I was so nervous because I came from a smaller facility that didn't do these big major procedures. And I was like, I'm going to suck. Like, this is going to be awful, even though I have so much experience. And now, like Kim said, I'm so much better. I'm almost 10,000 times better now, because I've just stepped back and said, my way is not the highway. Teach me your way, because I'm sound in my fundamentals and what I need to do. And now it's just progressed, because now I know, well, I saw this at the last facility. If you need my assistance, I'm here for you. And this is how we did it. And it's kind of a cool thing. And so it really, you can see it in so many different ways, and it's awesome. But I think that was the biggest thing.
Well, and I think just really having an open mind and not going in thinking you know it all, and really going in as a traveler and having an open mind and a willingness to learn and a willingness to ask questions, and not feel silly to ask questions that, oh, they think maybe I should already know this. Like, ask questions, put yourself out there, learn and grow, and you'll have the most incredible experience, and you'll become not only a better stenographer or nurse or whatever you are, but also just individually become stronger and more confident and more grounded in who you are. And I mean, it's really an amazing opportunity.
Yeah, because you see that, honestly, I've seen when I tell stories about, like, so, like, oh my gosh, we saw this one crazy case. Honestly, people are just kind of like, I don't really care. Like, I mean, not that they're being mean or anything like that, but it's like they see their world, right? And they know their world very well. And so it doesn't matter. They want you to fit into their world and help out in their way. And so that's just the biggest thing with traveling. And
you're there to help them.
Right.
And to learn.
We're not there to be consultants on how to do things better. You know, we're just there to help them in their way. And that's just really been the big deciding factor of, like, what's set us with, you know, people like, man, we love you guys. So
yeah, we're really good.
When you guys are looking for the next place that you're going to, is it difficult to find a position that'll fit both of you, or does only one kind of work at a time, or how does that work for you guys' schedule?
I will say that in our field, it is rare for us to both find a contract together. We've done that twice. We both worked at Stanford in California, and then we both worked in Seattle, which
different
was
facilities.
Different facilities.
They were so close to each other.
But that was incredible, because obviously when we're both working, we're able to make the most money, which is amazing. But what we usually do is we rotate. And so one of us will work. So right now, Erran took the lead with this contract in San Diego, and I'm off. So he's working, and I'm kind of like the housewife, or the domestic goddess.
We call it, I'm a domestic god when I'm at home.
He was just off.
I was just off.
And I was working. Yeah. So we'll switch. And so it's like he goes to work and does his thing, and I'm at home, and I kind of, you know, handle going grocery shopping and cleaning and working in our Facebook group and the course, like all the stuff that we're kind of working on. I handle that stuff. he works, and then when I'm working, he does that. So it's kind of a really cool balance because we get a lot of time off too, which is really
get a lot of time off, and then it's really cool to come home from a hard day and dinner's ready, your lunch is packed for the next day, laundry's done. You know, she washed the sheets last night, so when I got into bed, it was just this. She does it like every week. It's just like this cool kind of thing that you come home and be like, crap, we don't have stuff for the grocery store.
Well, and then our time together is just our time that we get to have fun and enjoy each other because we don't have like chores or like so it's a really good gig. He was an amazing house husband. I didn't actually want him to go back to work because he took such good care of me. I didn't do anything for 3 months.
Turn down service. Like I had her jammies on the bed.
Like a chocolate on my pillow.
Hold it back perfectly. I
was so spoiled. I loved it.
But it was cool because we do get to really have that time that I got to be in the Facebook group and helping different travelers. I got to edit my videos and just really have that time to do while she was at work. That, you know, usually we want to be hanging out together, and then vice versa, it just flips. And now I'm not really in the group that much because of work, and so Kim is.
Got it.
It's a good balance.
Yeah, the partner system sounds amazing.
It's good.
It's great.
Kind of coming from, you know, what I'm doing. I'm working full time, trying to get everything set up for my first contract, and then also doing this and the website and stuff. And it's just like
2 full-time jobs, right?
It's crazy.
It is.
I think I've had Qdoba for the past 30 days straight. Because our kitchen's kind of down and out, so I haven't been like making anything.
Yeah.
Is it a restaurant?
Yeah.
It is, yeah. It's kind of like a burrito place. You go there, and I got my own little system. They basically know my order. I do that and Thai food almost every day, and pizza. Yeah.
Burritos in San Diego are ridiculous.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It's, whatever is easy, I say. It's like do whatever makes it easy for you, and you know.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's eating out, sometimes it's cooking.
I just need to get on that smoothie game is what it is.
Yes.
And I'll have them sometimes for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Just only because they're easy.
Draw the line.
Like when I was in Florida for like 2 weeks, I had smoothies a lot for dinner because I'm like, I don't feel like cooking. It's just me. I'm gonna have a smoothie. It's filling, and I don't really care. You know, so it's easy.
Not me. No way.
Okay.
No. I can do breakfast, and that's it. I've done breakfast and dinner, but
that's funny. Yeah. So you guys are putting out a lot of content. I see you in the group with the website and everything. Is there anybody that you guys follow, whether it be personalities or books or podcasts, that kind of have helped you along your journey?
Yeah, we well, Lewis Howes first. I don't know if you've heard of him, but
it sounds familiar.
He has an amazing podcast, and he basically interviews the most inspiring people, like people who are top of their game, like CEOs, like leaders, just really influential, inspiring
athletes,
people,
actors
from all walks of life. And so we have a thing we call it Gipson Soul Sunday. And every Sunday, because Sunday's kind of like our day that if we want to sleep in a little bit, we can. We'll get up, we'll enjoy our coffee and our smoothie and kind of into the day, and we'll always watch a Lewis Howes podcast.
Okay.
Because we always walk away from it being like ready to like take on the world, like inspired. Like we'll have our best, most creative ideas after watching the podcast. Like he's amazing.
Are you familiar with Quest? They're like power bars.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he interviewed the Quest CEO. I never knew who this guy was. Even during the podcast, I'm like, who is this guy? And like, he started talking about it, but I was so lit up by his message, and I never even knew who he was. It's incredible that he found this guy, and he's a great interviewer as well, and he's engaged, and he says he's doing it for selfish reasons because he really wanted to just find out how to be these people. Yeah. So he just started asking them questions. He's like asking them, he's getting all this information. It's almost like a free hour coaching session for him. And it's just amazing. It's just a great, but we have, we don't always do Lewis. We'll do like.
We do Lewis. We do Gabby Bernstein, who's like a spiritual teacher that we absolutely love. And we have like a bunch of people.
We have a bunch. Well, it's funny because even going to TravelCon, meeting yourself.
I was going to say.
And watching your YouTube videos and stuff like that. Laura
from Nomadic Hair.
We love watching her trainings.
Andrew Craig.
Like our
travel, like people, like really fun to connect with all of you guys too. So we have a lot of like amazing mentors and teachers and inspiration. I think having something, whether it's a podcast, a book, a person, something that like cracks you open and inspires you or connects you in some way or makes you think or just kind of lights up your passion, like having that in your life every day is so important.
Absolutely. And I've even seen, it's very bizarre because of the travel world. I actually bought a book on negotiations. It was a lead FBI negotiator.
Okay.
International, and he also teaches at USC in their business school, and he makes them actually make some big business deal based off these negotiations.
Wow.
Fantastic book. And then I just started reading Tony Robbins' Money Master the Game.
Okay.
About 401ks and how to manage your money. And it is one of the most incredible books that just opens you up to like where the financial system
it's a different way, yeah.
and how they're taking money from you from your 401k. I mean, it's just absolutely phenomenal. So any way that we grow and can better ourselves along our journey, we're totally open to.
Yeah. I will say, like, having your own podcast, if you're a listener and kind of wanting to start something, it's a great way to meet people. Yes. I've made so many relationships just doing this, and it's kind of forced me into being more organized with how I do things as well. Because like the time is crunched, and so anytime that it's kind of repetitious, kind of the questions I send, and like it's forced me to kind of focus on an area that was definitely weak before this.
Well, you're killing it, man.
Oh, well, thanks. Oh, what was the book on the FBI negotiator?
Chris
Voss.
Voss.
Chris Voss.
Chris Voss.
Like your life depends on it.
Okay. Yeah. Like your life depends on it.
Especially as a traveler, you have to negotiate so much. And that was something that we were really uncomfortable doing, and we felt insecure. And obviously every contract you get a little more confident, and the more you know, you get a little more confident. But he's got some great tools that you can apply into your negotiations you do with your recruiter and stuff like that.
And he also talks about, the mindset going into it, that staying calm and not letting your emotions take over, because you're not going to get anywhere with anger and frustration and all these things. And then he really breaks it down on, how questions, how do you expect me to accept this contract? And just, it gets other people talking, and it's just a conversational way to lead people in the right way of getting what you want. I mean, really throwing it out there. I mean, that's what you're doing in negotiating. So, but basically I love what he says is, he says, you want to hang up the phone and both parties feel like they've achieved something. You don't want anybody to feel like they've been taken. So it's about how to do that. And that's what I loved about that book.
Very cool. Very cool. And then the Lewis Howes podcast, is there a name for that one?
Yes. School of Greatness.
School of Greatness. Okay. That's why. Yep. I've checked out a couple episodes, and I think he has a conference once a year.
Yes.
I
think it's called the School of Greatness.
I think so.
Oh, this year.
The Summit of Greatness.
Summit. Yep.
Yeah, we didn't get to go, but we're going to go next year. So
okay.
I know Laura from Nomadicare went this year.
Yeah, she went there. And then there's a couple of PT guys that I follow who are kind of entrepreneurs and business owners and stuff, and they went there as well. And that's where I've recognized the name. Yeah. Okay. So if we had a listener, I'm imagining somebody kind of, or maybe a couple sitting around, kind of similar situation with you guys, eating a pizza, and they're on the fence of doing this whole travel thing, what would you tell them?
Do it.
No. Do it. So I would say first though, like, listen to your gut, your intuition. Like, you know what to do. And like, we knew as soon as we heard it, we were like, hell yeah. And even though logistically it didn't make very much sense, it didn't. Like, to leave our jobs, to sell everything, we lost a lot of money selling our house. It was a horrible market. Didn't make sense. But we knew in our soul, like, we have to do this. Like, there was no questioning. It felt so good. And so don't let the fears come in. If you're on the fence, but you know in your heart, like, you've checked in and you're like, this is what we're supposed to do, and none of the other stuff makes sense, but we're going to figure it out. Don't let the fears hold you back from taking the leap, because once you just begin the journey, it is so amazing and opens up so many doors. Like, it was the best decision that we've ever done in our life. And it was a total game changer.
It was. And I think, one, our biggest thing is, your life begins outside your comfort zone. is kind of the biggest thing. And so when those fears trigger, there's a reason that they're triggering. If you just stay comfortable, you're going to miss out on a lot of stuff. And so our list was cons was like huge. And then our actually pros was like, because it feels right and you got to do it. And so it was just like, let's see where it goes. But I think on that, we didn't have a lot of these, your podcast, your YouTube channel, Laura, Andrew, ourselves. We didn't have the group, and that's why we started the group for travelers, because we didn't have that stuff. So you really need to educate yourself, because, it's kind of back on that myth question. I really thought that the recruiter just has your best interests at hand, and they're going to put you in this awesome facility and you're going to make a ton of money.
It's just rainbows and butterflies.
And they don't make anything, right? And it's just kind of, you realize that it's this whole business transaction. And so educating yourself not only to the practical things, but just all the mindset stuff that goes into it, into the fears of the unknown, and how do you respond to that as an individual.
Well, yeah, over the years, there's so much that we've learned, and so much that now, we've learned so much, just even in the last couple of years, of things that in the beginning, we had no idea what we were doing. We didn't know one person who was traveling. We had no mentors, no teachers. We did it anyways because we knew it was right. But now that there's so many resources to get educated so that you can show up empowered and have the best possible experience as a traveler, logistically, practically, like with all, like when it comes to money and things like that, but also just like the freedom to have this adventure. So listen to your gut, take the leap if it feels right, educate yourself, like really learn the ropes, because we lost out on a lot of money and time and energy and the whole thing. And just do it. Just freaking do it, because it's amazing.
You will not regret it.
Especially as a couple. It's so fun. Yeah. So fun. Yeah. So do it.
All right. That was awesome. That got me hyped.
For you.
Are there any horror stories that you guys have run into, or maybe learning experiences that has happened during your 5 years? And then how did you guys and maybe the company that you're working with handle those?
I'll say that. Do you want to say?
Well, no. This is a big one. This is a big one for us.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, start it.
I was gonna say, like, us personally, like, I haven't had any horror stories. I've had challenging experiences.
Okay.
Because anytime you start a new contract, it's a transition. It's new. You're always the new kid on the block. You're always learning a new system and a new way of doing things. It's always going to be uncomfortable. So I've had challenging experiences, but I think you can look at things two ways. And we always look at it as an opportunity. Anything that's challenging or seems like it's too hard or it's tough or it's not working out, what can I learn from this? How can I grow from this? This is an obstacle to help me become better, to be more confident, to be a better stenographer, to learn to speak up, learn to
ask the right questions,
put yourself out there, be vulnerable. There's always something to learn from all of these challenging situations. And so instead of kind of dwelling on, this sucks or this is hard or these people suck or my company's doing this, it's like, I look at it as, how can I learn from this and be better? And with just the change of perception and that mindset shift, we have always had incredible experiences because we've learned so much from each one. And it hasn't always been rainbows and butterflies for sure, but it's always been an opportunity to become better.
Right. And I one of our mantras that we say a lot is, the definition of a miracle is a change in perception. And that's like a big thing for us. And I have had one contract where my interview was not, when I showed up, it was not what they had presented to me.
Wow.
And I was working, instead of with interventional radiologists, I was working with vascular surgeons that do things totally differently. They had me not only in IR, but all the techs basically did everything. So then they had me in basic x-ray doing portables on the floor, which I hadn't done in forever. And what I learned from that, and I did mumble and grumble and, God, just get me out of here. He lied to me. But, that's where she's always been my rock when it comes to that, is what can we learn from this? You know, this sucks, but you can do anything for 3 months. And what can we learn from this? And I learned to ask better questions in the interview, not just try to get the job, but ask the questions to protect myself when it comes to that. So I really know based off the questions that we ask now, like what I'm walking into. And you can sense when people are beating around the bush and kind of hesitating and being, oh no, there's no call here. Like, it's like, and then you get hammered.
Yeah.
Like, it's just kind of one of those things. But, you know, we've also seen for a huge run on 10,000 words or more thing, I saw it more when it came down to a lot of my insecurities were popping out in a lot of contracts. And it was kind of like I couldn't run from it. And I thought traveling was fantastic to, I'll just leave this state and I'll never see this problem again because these people are being this way and all this kind of stuff. But I realized they keep showing up in different pajamas. And instead of actually take the time to figure out what those are, I'm going to keep seeing the issue. And it's big on what you always say about your mindset, what you put.
Yeah, just end it like what power of intention is something that's really important to us too. And so just setting the intention, like to have a good experience, to have fun, to meet people, this is going to be great. Like getting your mindset in that way really supports that. And that's what you're going to call into your experience. And so we're really lucky that we've had great experiences, but I think it's a lot to do with like how we show up. Yeah.
Got it. I definitely like the mindset talks and getting behind the whys of why you do things. And I think that's so important with traveling and basically leaving your comfort zone and picking up and moving somewhere where you don't know anyone.
Absolutely.
I definitely want to, as the podcast goes on, get more into those types of bigger questions and stuff like that. I love those conversations.
Well, I think it's important too because you can know all the practical stuff and the logistical stuff and have all the tips and the tools in the world, which is so important. But if you don't have the mindset right and you don't have the inner work down, your experience as a traveler is not going to be as full and it's not going to be as rewarding and fun because you have to have both. You really do, especially because travel is this out of the box kind of crazy adventure. So both are so important together. When they come together, it's like amazing.
And that's what we've seen. We've done 8 trainings in our group on the practical stuff. And now it's like, okay, like all the practical stuff is set aside. Now it's time to get into the mindset of enjoying your adventure and how you can have this amazing and show up the best version of yourself.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. There's just so many different angles that go into the traveling. Yeah. Like you said, you got negotiations and then you got your own clinical skills and then what you do outside of the work, you know, finding places to go and do it safely. And a lot to learn. So kind of leaving from the learning experiences, what's one of your guys' favorite travel stories?
I mean, I would say in January, we took off.
Yeah, no, that's I'm sorry. I was just like, I was thinking of like, there's so many, but.
Well, when we traveled through Asia for 5 months, I mean, that's my favorite travel story is like, it was amazing that we were like, cool, like we're going to leave the hospital for as long as we want and go and have this incredible adventure and backpack through Southeast Asia and like have the time of our lives. And it was incredible to be able to do that. And then when we were like, crap, we need money, we need a job, we were able to like pick up a job. Like Erran did an interview in the airport at like 3 a.m. in the Philippines and like got a job at 3 a.m. in the Philippines because we were like, okay, we need to come back to the States and like work again, you know?
Yeah.
But it's freedom to be like, we're taking time off and we'll come back when we're ready. And there was a job waiting for us when we got back and it was like amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's like, what other profession can you do that?
Yeah.
You know, where you're just like, I'm out of here, I'm done. And then I'm going to go play around and I'll be back.
Yeah.
And then it was like, emailed our recruiter and she was back with us in like a second. She's like, here's a job for you.
And we wanted to go to Washington.
Yeah, we did. Wanted to go back to Washington for the summer because it's gorgeous there. And
it was in Washington.
Yeah.
And then you literally did the interview at like 3 a.m.
We had been up 24 hours. We had gone through like 4 countries. I'm like standing, waiting for our bags, like doing this interview, standing in front of like their version of KFC. And it was incredible. And they were like, yeah, we'll love to have you. And I look forward to it. And so we had a job pending when we came home. It was fantastic.
And we got to set when we wanted to come back because we were like, we're not ready, but it was like 3 or 4 weeks out or something.
Okay.
So lots of freedom and flexibility, which is really fun.
Yes.
Really
Yes.
fun.
Absolutely.
Like what I've noticed too is there's so many different cultures within the United States that everybody thinks they need to leave the U.S. to find culture. And traveling has opened us up to so much awesome culture within our own country that is just amazing. Coming from a small town in Florida, you know, out in like the boondocks of Florida, it's kind of like, wow, there is a huge world out there, and people do things differently and they see things differently. And I'm on board with a lot of this stuff, and I love it. And I never would have experienced it if I wouldn't have stepped out of my bubble, our bubble in Florida, and really saw this beautiful country we live in.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was talking with I'm getting close enough now to where I'm working, where I'm telling kind of like patients, like, oh, you know, I'll be kind of heading out and doing my own thing come January. And I get excited with the idea of, you know, not really knowing what's going to happen in 3 weeks. Or they're like, when will you find out where your job is? It's like, honestly, I might not know until like a week before. And they get all stressed about it, but I'm like super excited.
They always freak out. I'm like, it's cool. It's fun to figure it out, you know?
I had a patient ask me, why do you travel? Because you can't hold a full-time job anywhere. We love it.
Oh, yeah. I will say, though, too, with travel, like what you just said about, you know, sometimes you don't find out for a week, that I'm like such a type A personality, and I'm like a planner and an organizer, and I like to know in advance with everything. And it's really helped me be a little bit more laid back and just in the flow, because there are so many times that, you know, we don't find out where we're going for a week before, or we don't know where we're going to live, and we just show up and we don't know what to expect. And I'm more relaxed.
You are.
And like just in the flow of life, like in the movement and momentum of life. And it's kind of, traveling's really helped me be able to do, like, loosen the reins a little bit.
Thank God. Because I'm more of the relaxed one, and she was just.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's all I had on the list of questions. Is there anything that you guys wanted to tell the listeners today that we hadn't touched on?
Yeah, I mean, I think just for us, something that's like we're so passionate about is teaching everything that we have learned from our travel experience, and really being able to help new travelers that are coming in, because it can be so confusing and overwhelming, and there's so much to learn and know. And we felt really alone when we first started, and we kind of had to learn as we went along, and we made a lot of mistakes along the way. And so we started this Facebook group, Travel Life Freedom and Scrubs, to be able to do trainings and to kind of be mentors and teachers and create a community of new travelers, and even not so new travelers, because there's people that have been us. We're traveling for so long, we're still learning so much as we go.
And we've heard that. Like, I've been traveling for 10 years and I never knew any of this. And so we've been hearing that along the way, and it's really cool. But we've kind of taken that as many steps forward, and we've seen these doors open up for us. And, you know, creating a course for new, an online course that'll break it down. You'll be traveling with 5 years experience in 6 weeks, you know, when you take this course, and breaking it down to bite-sized pieces for people that they can watch on their own time. And that should help alleviate a lot of the nerves going into traveling. Good.
Because essentially what we wanted to do is create a course that basically is from A to Z, like everything that you need to know to show up and have the most successful experience, and be educated and be empowered and learn everything that you need to know to set you up to have an incredible experience. So we wanted to condense all of this stuff that we've learned and put it in one area that people can access. And so we're super excited to create that, and we're going to film the first module today after we get off with you.
Well, the excitement was so high, we're like, let's just keep this rolling. You know, we're also throwing our own little touch on there with like a lot of mindset stuff. We have a lot of bonuses. I've teamed up with a lot of the physicians that I worked with that are going to do interviews on like what physicians expect from travelers. Very cool. And their perceptions. And we just have so many cool little bonuses that we want to throw in there. So it's really exciting for us because we are learning as we are teaching. And that's like a really cool thing.
Totally. So,
very cool.
Lots of cool stuff to come.
Well, I'm excited.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the Facebook group. Is there any other way that you that a listener can reach out to you if they have any questions or want to learn more about what you guys are working on?
Yeah, I would say our Facebook group is a really great place to get in touch. We're always in that. And also at KimandErranG.com, there's our email address is on there, so you can email us. We're really great at responding with emails. So I would say emailing and the Facebook group, because we're always in it.
So KimandErranG.com actually has a link to the Facebook group in there. It also has our YouTube videos. We have like a whole page that they can click on different travel videos that we have, but it also links you to the YouTube page as well. She's she's our social media queen. She's like our CEO of social media. Yeah. Instagram as well at KimandErranG. So everything is straight across the board with KimandErranG.com. There's a link to that whole workout and nutrition guru. That's what we call it.
Okay.
On that page as well.
Everything's on
and stuff like that. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, awesome. And then also, listeners, you can reach out to Kim and Erran on the New Medical Nomads private group there. It's all private so that you're kind of protected from recruiters and other companies trying to reach out to you until you're ready to make that jump. But also, I do the official releases of these podcasts and the YouTube channels on the New Medical Nomads Facebook group, or Facebook page, excuse me. And then from that, if you want to check out the YouTube channel, usually the videos are uploaded about a week or two in advance. Nice. But yeah, thank you so much, guys. And also, listeners, if you want to show us some love, like, share, whatever, it helps us get our message out to all the other travelers out there. So we greatly appreciate it.
Yes, that's awesome.
But this has been awesome. Thank you so much, guys, for joining.
Yeah, no, this is fun. I love what you're doing because it's just such a cool way for other people to hear other travelers' experiences. And it's fun, it's inspiring, and I just think it's so cool. So thanks for having us.
Right, and it's not this like with like a training. It's just like you can learn and grow, but it's a conversation and it's fun. Yeah. And so this was absolutely fabulous. So
yeah, awesome. Thank you, guys. Yeah, I try to catch it. Everybody's got a personality and bring something to the conversation. So just trying to capture those and basically tell a story.
Absolutely.
We love the story.
Yes.
Well, thanks so much, guys, and everybody have safe travels.
All right. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.